Before you help anyone carry a load again, watch this story, because one load can change your entire life. One act of kindness nearly destroyed Ade's life. Ade wasn't rich. He wasn't poor either. Just in between. He was 25, tall and slim, with dark skin and a sharp face. No matter how hot Lagos was, Ade always tucked his shirt neatly into his trousers. He had studied accounting at the university and once dreamed of working in a big bank in Victoria Island, inside a glass building with air-conditioned offices. But life didn't go as planned. Years passed and no bank job came. Instead, Ade ended up working in a small printing press in Mushin. The pay was little, just enough to eat, pay rent for his tiny room, and send a small token to his widowed mother in Ibadan. Even with his struggles, Ade had one thing that made him stand out: his kindness. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him as Brother Ade, the helper. If a car broke down, Ade would push it. If someone was carrying a heavy bag, Ade would rush to help, even if it made him late. But that same kindness was about to be tested in a way that he never expected. It was a Saturday, one of those days when the Lagos sun was very much. The sky was cloudless, the heat pressing down like a heavy iron lid. Ade had just closed from his printing press. His shirt clung on his back, damp with sweat. In one hand, he clutched a nylon bag with freshly baked bread. In the other, a huge sachet of pure water pressed against his forehead for relief. He longed for the comfort of his room, a quick meal, and maybe a nap before evening church fellowship. But destiny had other plans. As he approached Ojuwe Junction, the busiest, noisiest corner of Mushin, his eyes caught her, an old woman. She was bent and frail. Her back curved as though life itself had pressed her down for decades. Her wrapper was faded, tied tightly across her chest. On her head balanced a sack so massive it seemed impossible. The bag swayed dangerously with each shaky steps, as if it contained the entire Mile 12 market. She staggered beneath its weight. Her knees trembled like she would collapse any second. Ade stopped in his tracks. His chest tightened. Ah, this poor mama. This is too much for her. Without thinking twice, he placed his bread and water on a kiosk beside him and rushed forward. "Mama, let me help you," he said softly, his voice full of concern. The old woman lifted her head. For a moment, Ade saw her eyes, tired, sunken, yet strangely alert. Her lips spread into a slow smile, revealing brown, gap-filled teeth. She nodded silently, and with surprising ease, lowered the sack from her head. Ade bent, his tall frame crouching low. He adjusted the sack against his shoulder and with a grunt carried it up onto his head. The moment it touched him, his legs almost buckled. This was no normal weight. It wasn't like beans, or yam, or clothes. It was heavy in a way that went beyond the body. Heavy like it was dragging his very soul downward. His chest tightened. A flicker of unease crossed his mind. What exactly is inside this load? But Ade, being who he was, forced a smile through his clenched teeth. "Don't worry, Mama. I'll carry it for you." The woman's strange smile lingered. She hummed a low tune, almost like a lullaby, as she fell into step beside him. And together, under the blazing sun, Ade began a walk that would change the rest of his life. At first, Ade tried to convince himself it was just yams or beans inside the sack, maybe even firewood. But the more he carried it, the more he realized this was different. The weight was not ordinary. It pressed down on him, not just on his shoulders, but deep inside his chest, heavy, but in a way that felt alive, almost as if something inside the sack was breathing with him. "Mama, this load is too heavy." "What's inside?" Ade gasped, his voice cracking. The old woman didn't reply. She only kept walking, her lips moving as she hummed a strange tune. It wasn't a song he knew. It sounded like something from the village, old and unsettling. The type of sound that made the hairs on his arms stand. Then he noticed a smile. Wide, odd, too calm for someone being helped. Ade frowned, unease crawling into his chest. For the first time, a small voice whispered in his mind, "Something is wrong." He tried to laugh it off, shaking his head. But then it happened. His leg began to move faster. Not because he wanted to, but as if they were being pulled forward by something invisible, like an invisible rope. His steps quickened. His body no longer obeyed him. He panicked and tried to stop, planted his feet on the ground, pushed against the pool. But it was useless. His body refused him. His legs dragged him forward, carrying the heavy sack deeper and deeper into a direction he didn't choose. Ade's eyes widened in terror. His breath caught in his throat. Something was terribly wrong with his load. They left the busy street and entered a quiet, deserted road. Ade's heart pounded harder. The houses looked abandoned, gates rusted, walls covered with moss. Finally, they stopped before a large black iron gate, creaking as the old woman pushed it open. The compound was strangely silent. No children playing, no chickens scratching, just silence. Ade staggered inside and dropped the sack with a loud thud. Breathless, he wiped sweat from his forehead. "Mama, I can't. What exactly is in this thing?" The old woman turned slowly, and then her bent back straightened, her wrinkled skin smoothened. Before Ade's eyes, she transformed into a tall, fearsome woman in black, with glowing red eyes and a deep voice that rumbled like thunder. "Ade," she said, her words slicing through the air, "you have carried more than a sack. You have carried your destiny into my hands." Ade froze. His throat went dry. The woman stretched out her long fingers, and with a flick, the sack burst open. Not rice, not beans, not clothes, but charms, animal skulls, blood-stained calabashes, burning candles that lit up on their own. The air filled with the stench of decay. Ade's knees buckled. "Jesus! Jesus Christ!" he shouted. The woman laughed, her voice echoing. "Call him if you like, but today your star belongs to me. I am the destiny changer. I swap greatness for misery. I turn the destined into the wasted. You helped me willingly, and now your future belongs to me." She raised her hands, chanting incantations. Ade's body began to shake violently. His eyes rolled back. He felt his strength draining, as though his life itself was being poured into the ground. Fear held Ade like a chain. His whole body shook, his eyes blurred, and it felt like his life was slipping away. But deep inside, something rose up. With the last strength he had, he screamed, "The blood of Jesus! The blood of Jesus! The blood of Jesus. The moment the name left his lips, the sky answered. Thunder cracked loud above, shaking the air. The sack burst open. Candles exploded into sparks. Charms caught fire on their own. The woman let out a terrible scream. She grabbed her ears as if the name burned her. Thick smoke poured from her mouth. No, not that name. Not that name, she cried. Her body shook, flickering like she was fading away. With one last scream, she vanished, gone into a puff of black smoke. The sack fell apart, crumbling into nothing but ashes. Ade dropped to the ground, weak, gasping for air. Sweat covered him from head to toe. He was alive, but only by the power of that name. Somehow, he found strength to stumble out of the compound. His shirt was torn, his body weak, his spirits trembling. By the time he reached his street, his neighbors were shocked. Ade, what happened? You look like you fought 10 demons, one shouted. Ade couldn't explain. He just whispered, not every load is meant for your head. The words hung in the air, sending a chill through everyone around. The crowd went quiet, their faces shifting from shock to unease. Something in his tone told them this was not just exhaustion, it was a revelation. That night, after neighbors helped him inside to rest, Ade found himself in his pastor's sitting room. His pastor, a tall man with a calm but heavy presence, sat across him in silence, listening as Ade poured out every detail, every strange step, every eerie laugh, every terrible sight from the sack. By the time Ade finished, his voice cracked with emotion. His hands shook, tears brimming in his eyes. The pastor leaned back in his chair, sighing deeply. His face was solemn, his eyes full of both compassion and gravity. My son, he began slowly, his voice steady like an anchor in a storm. Kindness is good, but wisdom is better. The world we live in is not just flesh and blood, it is spiritual. Next time, pray before you help. Some loads are physical burdens, others, he paused. His eyes gazed, piercing into Ade's weary eyes, are spiritual traps. Yes, Pastor, he whispered, his voice breaking. I understand you now. From that day onward, Ade was never the same. His heart was still kind, his hands still eager to help, but his eyes were sharper, discerning. He had learnt a painful truth, that not every cry for help comes from God. Some come as a bait from the enemy. And so, Ade lived wiser, not less kind, but more careful. Not less giving, but more prayerful. Because in a world as dark as this, discernment was not just wisdom, it was survival. The story of Ade teaches us that life is deeper than the physical. Not every smiling face is genuine. Not every request is innocent. Not every load should be carried. Kindness without discernment can lead to destruction. Before you put any load on your head or in your life, make sure it won't crush your destiny. Ade carried more than a sack. He carried a spiritual trap. His story reminds us that kindness without wisdom is dangerous. In a world full of hidden traps, only discernment can save you. If you enjoyed this story, drop a heart in the comments and don't forget to subscribe now because the next story might just save you from a mistake you didn't see coming. Thanks for watching.